Hi everybody, my name is Galembo, and today I'm going to be presenting a presentation on social media and its involvement in the Charlottesville protests that occurred last summer. And presentation today will be an analysis of the role of social media to both prior to the Charlottesville protests and also afterward, and how social media can affect the outcome of an event. The protests in Charlottesville last summer that unfortunately ended in tragedy are a good example of how social media can influence an event. During a protest by white nationalists over the removal of a Confederate statue in Charlottesville of Robert E. Lee, a car was intentionally driven into a crowd of counter-protesters, killing one person and injuring over 20 others. Social media played a large role in the days after the event. Social media tools are used in many different ways today, and event organization and rallying is a typical employment of these tools. In today's presentation, I will review the role that social media played both in organizing the protests and also how it played a role following the event. In assessing what happened, it is important to evaluate the use of social media by all sides involved in the event. The white supremacists who organized the rally utilized social media to promote interest in the event. The leader of the demonstration, Jason Kessler, created a Facebook event for the white nationalist rally. It was entitled Unite the Right. Presented here is an image of the calendar invitation for the event. Facebook actually ended up removing the event the day before the rally took place, as its algorithm had detected that it was connected to a hate group. However, this did not stop the event from occurring. Social media and communication has helped empower hate groups. They have a greater ability than ever to organize and communicate. Social media can be used by these groups to spread propaganda and false truths to their followers. With the decline of newspapers and radio, and a reduction in trustworthy news sources, the environment has been ripe for hate groups to organize and spread their message to their followers. Radicalization is now very possible through social media. This is how the Charlottesville protest was able to occur in the first place. It was organized entirely through social media and word of mouth. The largest impact seen from the Charlottesville protests actually occurred afterward, when social media was deployed to out or reveal/identify the protesters. Over the weekend following the event, images of white nationalists, neo-Nazis, and KKK members marching against the monument removal in Charlottesville were posted online. A Twitter handle called Yes You're Racist posted and shared the images in order to identify and shame the protesters who were present. Presented here is an example of one of the posts that Yes You're Racist put up, showing some of the Charlottesville protesters. Several people in this image were actually identified. Some people lost their jobs. Many others were shamed online because of the posting by Yes You're Racist. While the intention behind the revealing of the protesters was in the name of justice, it was not intended to create violence. Nonetheless, there was danger behind the use of social media for this. There is potential for false identification. It creates some challenges for law enforcement as they work to solve crimes. Law enforcement needs credible information, and sometimes sharing online can create a lot of false positives and less concrete and researched information. Following Charlottesville, this was the case, as the police dug into social media in order to get more information on what happened that day as they put the pieces together from the event. While there were many false identifications and misleading tips, police were also able to use social media to successfully identify and arrest several people who committed crimes that day. One of the people who assaulted black man DeAndre Harris was arrested, as well as Alex Michael Ramos, who was also arrested. This is all thanks to journalist Sean King of the New York Daily News, who shared images of the assault on social media. And presented here are some of Sean's tweets that he shared online. Sean had a large social media following. As you can see, one of his tweets was retweeted over 52,000 times. His other tweet identifying that they had identified those two men was retweeted over 7,700 times. So there was a large following and a large spreading of this information. Ultimately, the Charlottesville protests probably would have still have occurred even without the use of social media. Rallies and protests have been happening for decades, long before the invention of social media and the internet. UC Irvine political science professor Richard Hazen explains that prior to social media, newsletters and radio programs served as a means for these groups to get their message out. He said there was even a well-known Nazi march that occurred in the 1980s in Illinois. What has changed now is that the cost of communication has been reduced to essentially $0 for anybody who has access to the internet. Anybody with access to the internet and a social media account can organize a rally or a protest quickly and efficiently and get their message out to their followers in a pretty instantaneous fashion. Charlottesville was not the first protest or rally to be organized through social media, and it certainly won't be the last. But notably, I don't believe the level of vigilantism would have occurred if we didn't have social media. This is where the absence of social media would be felt after the event. Information wouldn't be able to be spread as quickly, and the ability to identify people would be much more difficult if done through a newspaper or through a radio. There is a reason why paper wanted posters aren't posted anymore. All of that can be communicated online. I don't think the response to the event would have been as significant and widespread if we didn't have the use of social media. Thank you for listening to my presentation today.